Okay, today we're going to talk about case number 7, which is the Battle of Britain display case. They have their complete case primarily because that's how I got interested in World War II and collecting from my mother, who was living in London during those years of bombing. Probably the most interesting item in the case is the upside-down German Luftwaffe hat. As a young boy living in Germany, getting interested in my mother's experiences, I would go in the woods, find rusty helmets, rusty bullets, rusty whatever, and Mom seemed to not like it and she would throw them out. So one day I drove my bike into the town we lived in on the Rhine River, and for 20 marks I bought that upside down hat and brought it home. My mother saw it and thought it was more rubbish and wanted to toss it out, but then I said, well, look inside of it, Mom, and if you come to the museum and look inside, you'll see there's a photograph of the man's wife and child which humanized it. So my mother said to me, well, I guess those German mothers cry for their dead soldiers. You seem like you like all this rubbish. I said, I do, however, you keep throwing it out. And at that time she said, I'll tell you what, I'll never throw out anything else you bring home. And so look what happened, a whole museum. So from then on, my mother was my biggest advocate on finding stuff. So when we go to London or Germany to visit the relatives, there was always something I would get. So I'll begin on this side where we went to London. I went to see my grandfather, and he gave me his helmets. HR meant heavy rescue. The one below that was the River Thames formation. He was in the heavy rescue for 3 years and then put on the riverboat for the last 2 years, which was a little bit easier on the fighting of the fires. The uniform is a fireman's uniform. And let's begin with a gas mask, because this is my favorite artifact. My mother's gas mask. They came in boxes, but the girls preferred the leather cases. It's got a little dry rot, but it's all there. And a photograph of my mother with 3 of her friends carrying them. They're all very skinny because one of the issues my mother always said during war was the lack of food. Teenagers need to eat. The red and blue ones are referred to as the Mickey Mouse gas mask. Those are usually given to younger boys and girls, like my mother's brother was 3 at the time. However, the most horrific gas mask would be the infant gas mask. It was designed to stick a whole baby in, and this kind of gives you a better idea on how that worked. Very horrific. And there are several more up there. The Germans never did gas, but you had to carry your gas mask everywhere. As we move toward this way, note the photograph. The photograph is a picture of a bombed out building. It's dated September 1940. My mother gave me the photo when I was a teenager, and her house is 4 doors to the right, and there's going to be 4 more years of that. My mother lived with several other aunts and uncles. One was my Uncle Fred and Aunt Rose. They had 3 boys. The oldest boy was Reuben, and this will tell you about his death in London, being shot down, or his plane exploding over England, and he's perishing. And this will be the uniform that he would wear. I do have Girl Scouts items in the museum, primarily because we have the largest contingency of Girl Scouts that come to Savannah since it was founded here. But I have them in there for 2 reasons. My mother was a Girl Guide, the originators of the Girl Scouting, and the 2 uniforms. This is a 1930 vintage with zippers. At the time of the war, when we got into it, the government needed zippers, so the Girl Scouts obliged them and went to buttons. So that's the wartime significance. So that kind of takes care of the Battle of Britain case, which is my favorite.